Good evening, all. Dr. Jared here from Chiropractic First of Rockford. I want to welcome you to our live Facebook seminar called The Paleo Cardiologist, based on the book from Dr.Jack Wolfson called The Paleo Cardiologist. Fantastic book, very deep read. The premise of this book is to help you improve your lifestyle as well as being aware of other external factors that can cause you to have high risks of health issues. So the beautiful thing about improving your health is it typically doesn't just affect one area, it affects many areas. And so, as we start tonight, I have to tell you, this is our first live only seminar that I've ever done. We always do these in person, but due to the current regulations with COVID-19, we're doing this all online. So there's a couple of things that I want to share for those of you that are come to the seminars and purchase supplement discounts later in the seminar. I'll give you a keyword so you can use that and still get discounts. Additionally, I think this is important to remember. I by no means am here to debate at any level the severity of what's going on currently in our country. I do want to remind people that on average, 2.8 million Americans pass away in any given year. And the reason I say that is because that's about 233,000 Americans die per month, many of them from lifestyle-related conditions. So while you should take COVID-19 seriously, hopefully this has brought a light to just how valuable human life is and just how important it is to be a healthy person and to strive to be healthier. So hopefully you utilize some of this as a blessing or for good, and you take some of the things that we share here tonight and really implement to have your best life and best health possible. So, as we get started here, the seminar says Heart Strong, but like I said, it's all based off the book, The Paleo Cardiologist. So as I've stated in my previous posts, what I'll be sharing here are directly researched articles out of this book. And I'll also add some of my opinion to it, but anything that I share, that I state, is a documented, researched, natural thing, or if it's about a drug or a surgery or something like that. Also, anything that you'd like the researcher backing on, feel free to look in the book. You can buy it on Amazon. For those that are current clients, I know there's a ton of people that are doing the book read with us, and I'll share more about that in just a moment. Now, while COVID-19 is dominating the media, still the #1 killer in America is heart disease. Almost 650,000 Americans die from a heart attack every year, almost an additional 150,000 for stroke. So nearly 800,000 Americans pass away per year for heart-related conditions, followed secondly to cancer. And third, depending on which you look at, according to Johns Hopkins University, #3 is from side effects to the disease you're treating. So side effects to medication at over 240,000 per year. So #1 cause of death in this country is still heart disease. Now, one of the things that's most commonly assumed is heart disease being normal with aging. So while that might be a common thing in America today, heart disease is not normal with aging. Heart disease is mostly a lifestyle triggered event. And I do think it's important that you can have genetics for this. But one of the things that the Human Genome Project showed is that while heart disease does run in families, heart disease runs in almost every family, meaning that you turn those genes on and off largely due to lifestyle. The beauty of this is just like you can turn the genes on, you can turn the genes off, and it's called epigenetics. And the word epigenetics, if you want to look that up as well. Now, when we start to go into risk factors, so risk factors for heart disease are wide-ranging, but some of the things that are included are high cholesterol, blood pressure, smoking, diabetes, diet, weight, inactivity, and excessive alcohol use. One of the things that we're going to really try and debunk here are things like, truly, what is high cholesterol? How does cholesterol affect you? Just a few things that I'd like to personally share is that eating a cholesterol-rich diet is actually not the biggest indicator for somebody having high cholesterol. In fact, current research shows, and again, you can reference it in the book, that having a poor diet specifically related to lots of refined carbohydrates and sugars stimulate the liver to produce more cholesterol, and not the good cholesterol, but the bad cholesterol. Just a few things that should help you if you have a poor cholesterol ratio. The worst type of LDL is the type that is stimulated by too much sugar and carbohydrate production, which is the LDL with small particles. HDL, which is typically related to the best or the good cholesterol. Some of the ways that you can produce HDL, one is through exercise. Another is eating a high healthy fat diet. Specifically, saturated fats are linked to developing more HDL. So when you hear that saturated fat is bad, consider this. Saturated fat is a key component or a good component to helping your body produce more HDL. And the type of saturated fats I'm talking about are the type that you get from things like coconut oil, avocados, grass-fed butters, things that really are healthy types of fats for you to consume. Now, when you look at the next thing, so talking about high blood pressure, while blood pressure is certainly linked to being hard on your heart, there are lots of factors that are really more underlying, or let's say the cause of the high blood pressure, that by removing the cause, your blood pressure will naturally come down. I don't think it's a secret that for anyone that smoking is not good for you, causes vascular constriction, causes a lot of other issues, very toxic, very poisonous to the body. Now, again, when I went back and talked about sugar being really what helps raise bad cholesterol, diabetes is largely linked to heart disease. In fact, diabetes is possibly the #1 risk factor for somebody having a heart attack. And so type 1 diabetes, not as easy to control. Type 2 diabetes, largely lifestyle based. And one thing that has also come out in the media over the last 5 years, or the research, is that managing your diabetes with drugs does not necessarily slow the progression of the disease near as much as was previously thought. So the way to manage that condition is to get to the root cause and help your pancreas produce the right insulin, have the right amount of insulin sensitivity, because diabetes is linked to heart disease. It's also linked to a weaker immune system. So even if you're in fear of what's currently going on, eating a healthy diet is linked to a stronger immune system. So that goes through diet. If you would like to know more about diet, although I do touch on quite a bit of it in this seminar, the last 3 days specifically, you can reference back to the 8 to 10 minute videos that I've been posting. You can also read through the book, and you'll see that we have quite a bit of very specific diet recommendations. But if I am going to be simplistic, the thing about paleo versus keto versus the Mediterranean diet, or so many of these other things, the paleo diet is more of a hunter and gatherer type diet. So it goes through specifically things like why eggs are good for you. In fact, in the book, he refers to eggs as a nature's multivitamin, because it has vitamins B, it has or quite a few different B vitamins. It has vitamin D, it has vitamin E. It's got quite a few different minerals, a bunch of different healthy and essential fats. It says in the book about how essentially every animal that's a meat eater also will eat the eggs of another animal. While they'll eat eggs, there's really no other animals in nature that drink the milk of another animal, or it's very rare. So the paleo diet specifically talks about minimizing dairy consumption, but eating eggs. It also talks about minimizing refined sugar as well as grains. So those are the big key components to a paleo type diet or eating style, and also increasing healthy fats and eating animals that are truly raised in the same environment that they would have naturally, meaning that they're outside largely, they have access to pastures, they're eating the right types of foods, they're eating, the way, whether you want to call it the way God created them to be, or whether the way they naturally want to be. Those are key components. Now, next one, talking about overweight or obesity. Again, I don't think it's a secret to anybody that carrying excess weight causes inflammation. Now, one thing a lot of people don't know is that carrying extra body fat is not a dead thing. Fat is alive. And so one of the things that really throws people off is carrying excess body fat actually is shown to throw off your hormones. So for instance, cellulose or excess body fat can produce a lot more estrogen and affects how your body produces hormones. So it not only affects your heart, but it really affects so many different things in your body. Physical inactivity, again, a lot of these things you're probably familiar with, but physical inactivity, when I talk about that, that means not getting your heart rate up. So if you think about heart disease, the key component to your heart is a muscle. So if your heart's a muscle and you don't exercise the muscle, it gets weak. So when people get swelling in their feet or swelling in their legs and they haven't exercised in years, well, think about it. Not only the heart is getting weaker, but the arteries are also a muscle. And so in that situation, you wouldn't be surprised if you hadn't done any weight training in 5, 10, 15, 20 years that you were weaker than you were 20 years ago. Yet many people are surprised when their health or their heart gets weaker when they don't take the time to strengthen it. It's so vitally important to strengthen your heart because it is first and foremost a muscle. Lastly, excessive alcohol use. Again, that is probably not surprising to many people, but knowing that it's linked to everything from heart disease to cancer to diabetes to so many different things. It is something to be monitored or to be watched. Now, cholesterol itself, keep in mind, cholesterol is essential. It is essential for life. It's essential for every single cell wall that you have. So the trillions of cells in your body, the healthier the cholesterol in that cell, the better the cell wall is. Now, one of the things that's a misconception is that cholesterol randomly attaches and causes plaquing. In fact, the type of cholesterol that's most linked to the plaquing of arteries is that bad cholesterol, that low or the dense LDL. So not the high density, not the HDL, but the small particle LDL, which is the one that's most often caused from sugar and refined carbohydrates being consumed at high levels. So those are the highest likelihood to oxidize. Another big component to plaquing or cholesterol oxidation is what's called LPA. LPA does have a genetic component to it. In fact, it's listed very commonly in or found at higher levels very commonly in people that are younger that have heart disease. But LPA, what it does is it increases cholesterol oxidation or plaquing. So one thing that's unique is that a healthy diet, but one is specifically associated with saturated fats and B vitamins, specifically vitamin B3 or niacin, is shown to decrease LPA levels. So B vitamins are key, saturated fats are key, omega-3s are key, low sugar diet is key. These are things that truly affect the root causes of heart disease. And for many, many, many people, they are just flat out not consuming them at a level that they should be, and they're eating way too much of the stuff they shouldn't be. Again, is a heightened sensitivity to our health right now in our country. What's been interesting for me is in general, when we shop, it hasn't been all that hard to find the health foods. What the stores bought out of are non-perishables, which you could argue why, but also things like I see people going through the line with all these like cheese balls and just crap. That stuff will last forever, but it's also causing so much other disease, inflammation, weakened immune system in the body that putting the right stuff in your body is so essential. So just a few other truths about cholesterol. The cholesterol ratio is probably, in my opinion, and according to the book by Dr. Wolfson, one of the most misunderstood things from many people. In fact, cholesterol guidelines before the early 2000s did not medicate people until they were over 240. Now the current recommendations are, in general, they're over 200, but there's a lot of healthy people that have a cholesterol over 200. One of the things that's listed on most blood works, but really even if it's not, you should be considering doing, is taking your HDL number and dividing it by your total cholesterol. The lower the ratio, the better off you are. So let's just use a simple example. So let's say your cholesterol is 210, but your HDL is 70. If you divide 70 by 210, you're going to have a 3-to-1 ratio. That's really a pretty good number in most holistic doctors' opinions, but yet the cholesterol is 210, and you may unfortunately still be recommended to medicate. Now, if you want to understand just how bad statins are, read the very first 2 chapters of this book. There is no way we could go through all the different problems with it, but I do want to list a few. Statins, while they do inhibit your liver's ability to produce cholesterol, they also have a lot of side effects. They can cause everything from diabetes to muscle wasting. They can lower the production of hormones that can actually cause heart disease or dementia or Alzheimer's. Like lowering your cholesterol it has an increased risk of having low testosterone, producing less estrogen and progesterone, which women need to produce as they age. It can cause cataracts. I mean, so many things, and many of them have a cumulative benefit. So how do you know you're having a side effect? It may be years before you feel it. So learn the truths, know your body, treat your body healthy, and really look at some of the other, I'm going to say, risk factors here. Now, I mentioned some of these already, but the one thing that I didn't mention, so if you're looking at ways to increase HDL, the last thing I want to mention here is magnesium. Magnesium is a simple supplement. You want to get it from a high healthy source. We use magnesium glycerate. But for its absorption ratio. But again, certain things like being deficient in magnesium can increase your risk of heart disease or having a low HDL number. And the reality is there was a time when there were statins that were specifically designed to increase HDL. What they found is that when they looked at them on a molecular level, that they didn't produce the HDL that really helped your health. They produced a version of HDL that was less beneficial overall. So magnesium is very important. Why do you need to supplement with magnesium? Well, one of the reasons I would say, even if you do have a healthy diet overall, magnesium has been severely depleted in the soils from conventional farming. So instead of using, let's say, manure or certain types of other fertilizers or crop rotations, many farms have gone to a 1 or a 2 crop rotation. And what they put on their crops very frequently is called NPK, which is nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. Well, you'll notice there's no M in NPK. So magnesium, as crops have pulled it out of the soil, depending on which fruit or vegetable you look at, there's a severely lower level of magnesium than there was, let's say, 50 years ago. So some people have had to go to supplementation specifically, not only because of their maybe not eating a perfect diet, but additionally because the soil has been depleted in certain nutrients. So again, supplementing with magnesium would be another benefit. Now, let's talk about statins specifically. I already mentioned here that statins block cholesterol production, and they have a high side effect rate. Other than the flu shot, which we're not really going to go into here, there is a huge debate on really the effectiveness of statins on really extending life. There's not a debate on whether they decrease the number of heart attacks that you have, but there is a debate on if they actually extend life. So there's all sorts of criteria. For instance, there's a very low correlation to having benefits in women, yet many women are still put on a statin, just like men are. The number needed to treat. So if you look at that slide, it says NNT. This is the thing that I would look up if you're on any medication. Type in your medication online and then type in the words number needed to treat. So if you average, or if you did a large analysis of studies, the number needed to treat to prevent a heart attack is pretty high. So I'm just going to use I have a study again on here, and it says number needed to treat 110. That means that in that study, for a heart attack, to have one less heart attack versus the control group, 110 people had to take that drug. So think about this, 110 people had to take the drug, 109 don't have the benefit that they're hoping for versus the control group, essentially. So again, how do you know if you're that one person? It's impossible. But the downside is that many of the cholesterol statin studies, they lowered heart attacks, but they did not lower overall death rate. What does that mean? That means that the people on a statin actually had higher rates of cancer, higher rates of other diseases develop, and higher side effect rates than the control group. So while the number needed to treat might be 110, the number of people that develop side effects is actually higher than that. So consider that when you're debating taking a medication versus doing some lifestyle things to reduce your risk of heart disease. This is why I personally don't know that I would ever go on a statin. Again, you have to take the advice of your doctor or search for yourself. But these are some things that a lot of people don't know. The other thing is, and you can look this up, we just in the office played this video for a couple of weeks, but one thing that I think is very interesting, when you talk about drug studies, many people think that all drug studies are published and therefore they really need to have a net benefit to be prescribed. Well, the reality is that when studies aren't going well, they're often unpublished or they're often cut short. So if it doesn't look like the drug's going to have a net benefit, those millions of dollars in research are actually, they just end it. So there might be 5 studies done on this drug, but only 1 or 2 published, and yet those are the ones that showed any net benefit. And the scary thing is that net benefit might be a number needed to treat like 110 or reduces heart attacks, but doesn't reduce overall death rate. And so you really have to be informed to have that most confidence in yourself. So like I said, statins are something that you have to weigh out, but they're one of those drugs that I think lifestyle is a much better way to treat it if you can. Now, CoQ10. Why would we talk about CoQ10 right around statins? Well, I mentioned statins have side effects. One of the things that I didn't mention is low energy. So people on statins tend to have a lower energy reported overall. Why is that? Well, what the drug does is inhibits a certain mechanism in the liver that turns or that produces cholesterol, but it also inhibits CoQ10 production. Now, what CoQ10 does, CoQ10, it helps your body turn food into energy, so it's a metabolizer. Now, why is that so important? So if you are somebody who chooses to take a statin drug, in my opinion, it is essential to take CoQ10 additionally to not have as many side effects in your body. But what you'll find is that you're not told that when you're prescribed the drug in many instances, which is, in my opinion, disappointing. That knowing that there's some guaranteed side effects, I wish in our current medical system we would let people know what those are. Another similar example would be anytime somebody's provided antibiotics, we should recommend that they take probiotics after to help prevent the side effects of the drug while possibly life-saving what it's doing to your body. There's so many options in that, and there's actually a list in this book, which again, I'm going to hold up the book, Paleo Cardiologist, the top 20 supplements recommended and why they would be recommended. Now, for those of you that are looking for supplements in the next 7 days, if you just come into the office and say, I watched the Paleo Cardiologist, you will be able to receive a 10% discount on any supplements for 1 or 2 and a 15% discount on any supplements of 3 or more. So again, just say, hey, I watched the Paleo Cardiologist, and the staff will give you the standard discount that we have for anyone that normally attends the seminar. Second thing I want to mention, many of you have heard about our Mountain program. It stands for MTN, Mountain, we call it Mountain. The Mountain program is metabolics, otherwise known as testing, toxicity, and nutrition. So we do customized nutrition programs with our integrative nurse. And because we would normally have that seminar about a week from now, usually it's about next Tuesday. Instead, I'm going to do it live on Facebook Live. But for those of you that are interested, we are going to do a get to the root cause for anybody that's having issues with blood pressure or cholesterol or things like that. Our integrative nurse is going to work on natural ways to help you lower those. So if you'd like to be included, I will send you a direct link for this. If you would like, just post in the comments here. Also, if you like the seminar, please post in the comments and share it with as many people as you would like to. Onward. All right, the silent killer, what the silent killer is, that's blood pressure. So a lot of people run high blood pressure and don't even realize it till they get really dizzy, or they're taken to the hospital or something like that. Now, it is shown that a blood pressure, almost all research shows that if your blood pressure is over 150 or over 90, there are serious side effects to that. Depending on which recommendations you want, the current medical recommendations debate medicating if you're over 130 and over 90, but all the way back in 2014, so for a large part of 2015 and 2016, before it was switched back, it was actually stated to medical providers that not to medicate people that had a overall healthy, otherwise less risk factors, unless their blood pressure was either over 140 or over 150, depending on the criteria. That would have taken millions of people off blood pressure drugs. Why did they do that? Because actually taking the medication and having your blood pressure be lower than 140, the medication had more side effects than having a slightly higher blood pressure. So again, why does that happen? Over time, chronic medication consumption can damage your kidneys, can damage your liver, can cause a lot of other issues. So keep that in mind when you are consuming medication for the long term. Could you get to the root cause of the problem? But blood pressure is a serious issue for a lot of people. Research has shown that everything from diet to exercise to chiropractic adjustments, detoxing, all these things have ways to lower your blood pressure. Another key component to that is getting your hormones properly balanced. This is why not carrying excess body fat can be so important. Keeping your cholesterol levels at a good balance can be so important. And also, like I mentioned, one of the things that we're seeing the coolest results with, in my opinion, so far in our mountain program is hormone balance, which helps with weight loss. It helps with energy. It helps with mood, helps with a lot of the things outside of maybe even a disease related process. So these are considered the current stages of having high blood pressure. As you can see, they've been changed back from the previous stages where there wasn't considered to be an issue until it was over 140. But here's the stages just for your own knowledge. And again, you could really strongly debate that if you're in stage 1 and on a medication, it's possible that the medication is doing more harm than good. And in some instances, even in early stage 2. Few of the risks for this, again, blocked arteries. So here's something else that I thought was so cool that he talks about in the book. A lot of people, when they talk about getting stents, they'll say, it's amazing my whatever artery was 95% blocked, right? 2 arteries, 100% blocked. That's why they went in and did the stents. What's interesting, and I hope you find interesting, is that actually those arteries, the body often will build bypasses to them on its own, meaning that it's going to build a network of blood vessels around the major blockage. The people that are at most risk of having a heart attack are having a partial blockage break off. So those are the really serious heart attacks. And yet a lot of times we fall into that simplistic thinking of the more blocked it is, the higher the risk. And that's actually not true. And you can feel free to reference these studies in the book itself. In fact, in the book, it talks about when stents are beneficial and when they're not. I just this morning, before as we were getting ready to tape this, I looked something up, and I just typed in, stent effectiveness, and research consistently shows that while that hospitals and doctors that do more stents don't have a better success rate than those that are just treated with medication. So again, well, I would hope that you don't need a stent nor medication for your heart. These super invasive procedures aren't always shown to really be all that beneficial. And if you want to know more about that, you should really purchase or read the book. Now, I mentioned picking up the book. In the office, we're doing a 30-day challenge. I started it last Wednesday, where I'm going to post for 30 days, once a day, on a section of this book, The Paleo Cardiologist, my thoughts and some of the key things that are in there. Now, I hope that this seminar stimulates you to want to learn more. And if so, if you don't feel comfortable coming into the office at this time, feel free to just post that you'd like us to save you a book. Any current client, we will reserve you a book complimentary. Anybody else, feel free to just buy it on Amazon or at the doctorswolfson.com. Now, atherosclerosis, also known as, plaquing. So atherosclerosis and then heart attack, these are the things that we were just talking about. These are risk factors. But what I want to mention, again, goes back to this blood pressure issue. Is there's a root cause deeper than the artery being blocked that causes the artery to be blocked. As far as cholesterol goes, the more people have heart attacks with normal cholesterol than high cholesterol. More people are hospitalized with LDLs between 60 and 130, which is the normal range, than LDL that's severely elevated. In fact, there's research that shows that there's no net increase in heart attack rate with an LDL of 100 versus an LDL of 160. So this, in fact, your risk of death, and this is in chapter 2, your risk of death is the same at a cholesterol of 250 as a cholesterol of 150. So thinking that the lower you get your cholesterol, the better you are, is not necessarily the case. There's a few things that you really should look at on your blood work, and you can request from your doctor. One is called C-Reactive Protein, or CRP. C-Reactive Protein shows overall inflammation in the body and is directly linked to increased heart attack risk. So why do I talk about that? Well, a lot of times it's not tested in your blood work. Why? Well, if your CRP is high, you need to treat it with your lifestyle. There's currently not a drug to lower CRP, yet it is much more, in my opinion, and the book's opinion, linked to heart attack risk. So consider asking your doctor for that. Another thing in blood work that you should ask your doctor for is to test your vitamin D. There are studies and research that shows that a higher vitamin D level has a lower heart attack rate. Now, how do you get vitamin D naturally? Well, you go outside, you get in the sun, but how many people are staying inside more, whether it's because they're utilizing social distancing or because they work inside, or right now they're working from home? In that case, you need to supplement, and the medical number is a healthy vitamin D is over 60. Most people, or most naturalists, would tell you your vitamin D needs to be over 60. I think I said that wrong. Medical is over 30, natural is over 60. The ideal range of vitamin D, which can be tested in your blood, is between 60 and 90. Now, this brings me to the point of whole food versus synthetic supplements. You're wasting your money if you're buying synthetic supplements. If you're taking vitamins from Walmart or most of them from GNC or Walgreens, or cheap supplements are a waste of your money. You need to get whole supplements that are extracted from whole foods. So we do carry those in the office. If you don't feel comfortable in the office currently, you can buy those on our website, rockford.maxliving.com. We will post the link in there momentarily. Additionally, beyond that, you can do one way to save. If you want to save even more than you're saving from watching the seminars, you can sign up through our website for auto ship. And if you auto ship, you save 20% all the time. So it's a great way to not worry about being out of stock. It's a great way to save more money if you're taking certain supplements. So auto ship is a great way to go in that situation. Now, here's some other drugs that affect blood pressure. So first of all, pain relievers, especially anti-inflammatory medications. These are linked to raising your blood pressure. One study showed that ibuprofen use multiple times a week raised your likelihood of having atrial fibrillation by 76%, more than just about any other medication. So you think about this, people take painkillers thinking that they're no big deal because they're cheap and over the counter. They have so many side effects, which is why I would argue chiropractic is such a better way to live. It's just such a better way to treat your body, not only to live pain-free, but overall function. Another thing that's really shown, antidepressants, very hard on your liver and kidneys, shown to increase blood pressure. Birth control, again, birth control is synthetic hormones, throws your body off. I'm not saying to use or not use birth control, but there are essentially long-term side effects in many different ways from birth control. Caffeine is linked to both arrhythmias or something like atrial fibrillation, as well as fast pulse rate, high blood pressure, all those things. So again, if you go to your doctor and you're drinking 2 cups of Starbucks a day, before taking a blood pressure drug, maybe you should cut down on the caffeine. And again, I don't think that's discussed enough. Lastly, cold medicines. So, through the winter here, A lot of people take cold medicines. And here's something immune related too. When you think about taking a cold medicine, what cold medicine is often a decongestant along with liquid Tylenol. Now, why? That's going to make you feel better, but actually, in most cases, it extends the amount of time that you're sick. Now, why does it do that? Well, breaking the fever or lowering your body's ability to heal itself allows the virus or bacteria to multiply more rapidly. This is why it seems crazy to me when parents break a fever too early, because what happens is if you break a fever at 99, 100, 101, 102, you're actually letting the infection get worse, often unaware. You know, a lot of people, I think, are trying to take care of their children. They're worried about, brain damage. Febrile seizures, if you go ahead and type in febrile, which is a seizure from a fever, you'll find that there are no side effects to it. So the natural recommendation is to not break a fever until it gets to 104.5 and above. I will tell you, I've personally seen 2 out of my 3 children get to that point and have only broken the fever ever once. So why do I say that? Because, they've shown that these serious infections, a virus will often, your body will often go to a temperature of about 103 to kill the virus, and a bacteria will often sit at about 102. Now, can you imagine if you keep breaking what it's like to kill it? Now, if you've ever been camping, you know that you don't wash things in lukewarm water. If you want to sterilize something, you have to boil the water. Think of a fever just like that. So again, there's a lot of drugs that cause negative side effects on the body, and many of them people are not taking for anything related to the heart. So get to the cause. I'm going to say that over and over and over. Get to the cause of the problem. Daily defense. This is one of my favorite natural pain relievers. Why? Because it's a natural anti-inflammatory. This was originally developed to help people in our cancer prevention program. It's got things like turmeric and curcumin, goji berry extract, different things that are really, really good for your health and good for the body. Yet what do most people take them for? They take it to relieve arthritis pain. They'll take it if they jam their thumb. They'll take it if they strain a muscle. So my opinion is you can take these, like for people that have arthritis, you can take them 1 a day or 2 a day to just lower the inflammation in your body. Or if you're actually having an injury, like if you're having back pain and stuck at home, you could take 4 of these a day instead of taking ibuprofen. And not only would it not have a negative effect on your heart, it would actually have a net positive health. Now, does this work for everybody? Of course not. It's how your body responds to it, but they have shown that about 80% of people do get a significant pain relieving effect, similar to like ibuprofen or something like that. So consider it instead of turning to drugs. I hear a lot of people say, I don't take drugs, I just take vitamins and Advil. Advil's still a drug. I mean, it just is. Is it less serious than, let's say, an opiate? Of course, but it's still a drug and it still has negative effects on your body. I think I listed all these already, but for just in case I didn't, blood pressure meds will increase the amount of times you have to have blood work to check your liver and kidneys because of the long-term damage it can cause. There are many, many studies that show that they don't actually decrease your risk of a heart attack. And most blood pressure medication, it's for stroke reduction. And even that, the number needed to treat in many studies is 200 people have to take that drug for 5 years to get any level of stroke reduction, which to me is probably not worth it for a lot of people, except in severe cases. But again, I'm not making recommendations on if you should take these things or not. You should educate yourself and decide what's the best benefit. But if this is new to you and you want to know more, be more confident by reading the book. Take some time, invest in yourself, especially those stuck at home. I mean, what else is there to do? Don't watch The Tiger King on Netflix. Read a book and empower yourself. All right, next slide here. Other ways to naturally lower blood pressure. There are research studies that show that chiropractic is beneficial in lowering blood pressure. Water. Now, the reason water can lower blood pressure is if you're dehydrated, you actually can have a lower overall blood volume. And so when you have lower overall blood volume, it raises your blood pressure to pump the blood through your system. So simply staying hydrated, lowering caffeine. Now, anti-inflammatory diet is probably self-explanatory, but an anti-inflammatory diet is low sugar, high healthy fats, moderate protein. I'm going to say that again, low sugar, and that includes breads. So low sugar and refined carbohydrates. Moderate protein would be 30 grams or less per meal, which is the equivalent of a 6-ounce piece of meat. And then high healthy fat, meaning things like avocado oil, coconut oil, olive oil. There's a whole list of healthy fats. If you'd like a list, again, you can go on our website, you can look at some of the past recordings, or you can read the book. Magnesium, one of the effects of magnesium in the body is higher levels of magnesium, lower muscle tension. Why would lower muscle tension lower blood pressure? Because your heart's a muscle and your arteries are a muscle. One of the things that actually drives me the most crazy is when people go to the ER in pain and their blood pressure's up because they're in pain and they're given a blood pressure pill for it. Again, it's one thing if you did it for a week, but it's another thing to take it for life because you went to the ER in pain. And I've seen that happen to people. Exercise strengthens the heart. Therefore, it lowers blood pressure, doesn't work as hard. Lowering stress, so meditation. There was just a Nobel Prize coming out. They talked about the potential risks, and one of the things that this Nobel Prize winning author and researcher talked about is daily guided meditation, which can increase your immune system. And if by chance you came in contact with the coronavirus, you would lower your risk of developing it. Now, again, those aren't my Nobel Prize winning researcher, but it makes potential to make your immune system stronger. Also, adequate sleep. Your body heals when you're sleeping. There are direct links to getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night in a dark room with having lower blood pressure, stronger immune system, and about 15,000 other things. Now, I'm exaggerating, but you guys get the point. I mean, those things seem so basic, but how many times do you negate that when you're running your kids all over the place or you're watching the news being fed into by this, the hysteria of what's going on. Even watching the news too often is linked to higher stress. And what's that do? It weakens your immune system. It can raise your blood pressure. It can cause increased inflammation in your body, which increases pain. So really consider doing some of these natural things to help your body be at its best. Now, I'm going to brush through a few topics here, but I think it's for heart attack prevention. If you haven't had a heart attack before, it's not even recommended. If you see all these dialysis centers that are popping up all over the place, if you don't know this, the reason for the original dialysis centers when dialysis went from being something that was strictly done in the hospital to being needed to have dialysis centers closer to other people was when the medical recommendation for arthritis pain came out to just take 12 to 16 aspirin a day. That was actually a medical recommendation at one point. Now, it destroyed people's kidneys and was the cause of the first part of dialysis centers. Now there's so many people on so many drugs that, it's not the sole cause of dialysis centers, but it was one of the originals. Like I said, there's no studies that show that it's beneficial in women under 65. There are, it's got a 15 per 100,000 death rate from GI bleeding, from it damaging your intestines. It also causes leaky gut syndrome. It increases uric acid in your body, which can cause you to have more gout. I already mentioned kidney function. It increases your risk of developing macular degeneration, which is spotting or blindness, depending on the severity. It actually increases your risk of clots and also can cause hearing loss. Now, here's another, just take this, exclude all the things I just said for a second. Think about this. If you think of your body as an intelligent, harmonizing machine, and you take something that thins your blood artificially, and your body wants your blood to be a certain thickness, don't you think your body is going to naturally thicken it? Think about that. You're thinning it artificially. Don't you think your body's going to naturally thicken it? And here's ultimately the problem with people taking aspirin as a preventative medicine is it goes against your body's natural tendency of what it wants to do. So it's no longer recommended unless you've already had a heart attack. So there's a lot of people on this that are listening to this that either personally or know somebody that's probably still taking a drug that's not even recommended anymore. And it has all sorts of downsides. Some alternatives, again, lifestyle-wise, a natural blood thinner are omega-3s. So you can get omega-3s from flaxseed, you can get them from a lot, but the best omega-3s that people tend to be deficient in are DHA and EPA, and those are found most predominantly in fish. Specifically, you want to get wild-caught fish and fin fish. So avoiding shellfish and some of those other things, but fish are great. The recommendation is a minimum of once a week, but ideally 2 to 3 times a week. If you're not eating fish at least twice a week, it's my recommendation that you then take an omega-3 fish oil supplement. 2 days ago on Saturday, I posted all about what to look for in fish, how to check your supplements to see if you have crappy omega supplements. We carry a fantastic omega supplement. So if you don't like fish or know you don't eat it enough, that would be something that you should really consider for heart health. Couple things about some other blood thinners, Plavix. So that's typically given after people have heart surgery. While it is shown to benefit for the first 6 months to a year, it has minimal to no net benefit after that, and many people are left on it even after that. For all the research, please read the book. Similarly, Coumadin, which was first developed as a rat poison, just kind of is a major blood thinner. You can't even eat green vegetables when you're on Coumadin, which that itself should probably tell you that there's a problem, but only the research studies really show that it's only significantly beneficial for those with a high risk of stroke. So again, you take it, you take it for what you will. Read the book, make your own decision, but I think it's important to at least have this awareness. Again, heart rhythms, I mentioned caffeine. Gluten and genetically modified corn are both also linked to arrhythmias. Some natural options going back: magnesium, potassium, omega-3s, chiropractic, all shown to be beneficial. Now, again, if you heard me talking about supplements and you're just joining us late, remember, if you come into the office in the next 7 days or email the office, which you can do through our website, rockford.maxliving.com. For the next 10 days, you'll get 10% off 1 or 2 supplements, 15% off 3 or more. Again, just mention that you watched the Paleo Cardiologist online. If you'd like a complimentary book of the book we're doing, the study, the Paleo Cardiologist, please either post a comment or send us an email or request one if you're in for an adjustment. And if you're a current client, you'll receive a complimentary book. I mentioned C-Reactive Protein already. Detoxing. Why does detox protect the heart? The liver, while we typically think of the liver as more of a detoxer or a cancer preventer, or that's what I personally would have said, your body's production of glutathione, which is its most prevalent antioxidant, is a heart helper. So you produce more glutathione by eating cruciferous vegetables like Brussels sprouts and things like that, but you can also produce more from, for instance, our detox supplement. It has all the precursors to help your body make more glutathione. And I will tell you, I had a client come in, he said, hey, I watched this whole big long seminar on how glutathione can help your body fight viruses, so I want to take a supplement for that. That's our detox product. So it can help with viral protection. It can help with heart disease prevention. But again, it's really your body's ability to heal itself. And then lastly, again, sleep is so essential for your body. But magnesium, you'll notice that's a theme throughout. And what's cool about magnesium actually can help you sleep. It can help with muscle pain, not only affect lowering blood pressure, things like that. 5-HTP, now that is an herb that is in our sleep and mood supplement. 5-HTP is something that helps your body produce more serotonin. So why is our supplement called Sleep and Mood? It's because it helps your body naturally produce more serotonin, which tends to make you happier, have more energy, sleep better. It helps with the permeability of the blood-brain barrier to serotonin. So it's a great alternative to sleeping pills and things like that. Lavender is also a good thing that can help with sleep. To reiterate here, as we're finishing up, what is paleo? We'll be done within 10 minutes here. What is paleo? Paleo is eating a low sugar, low grain, or low refined carbohydrate diet, high healthy fats. So some other things that are essential are things like eating nuts. If you want to know the benefits of eating nuts, please refer to my video from yesterday. That's Sunday the 29th. But also low to no dairy. Dairy, the reason they argue that dairy is not as beneficial is that as people age, the body tends to produce less lactase, which is what breaks down dairy. So you have a lot of that enzyme when you're younger because you're supposed to break down breast milk. And as you become a toddler and get older, you start to produce less and less, which can make dairy more inflammatory in your body. Also, low to no caffeine. Those are the keys to paleo. I always want to mention chiropractic care. Right out of Dr. Wolfson's mouth, chiropractic can help prevent or treat heart disease. Again, I'm not making these claims because, again, some people get sensitive to that, but there are the research studies right in the book, and I do feel that those are consistent. It's also proven to help with blood pressure, improving lung function, improving autonomic tone, meaning your internal organs' ability to work, improving heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is linked to lowering your likelihood of having a heart attack, decreasing blood markers of inflammation, and lowering chest pain rates. So again, many of you are on here already receive regular chiropractic treatments, but it is for way more than just pain relief. And if you'd like a reference point, please read the book. As I mentioned stents earlier, stents are shown to be beneficial specifically more for symptoms than for preventing heart attacks. Read in the chapter about stents and different medical interventions to learn more. I remember probably about a decade ago, Time Magazine ran an article about stents being the $19 billion a year placebo. Again, not my words. It was just on the front of Time. I read a Wall Street Journal article that was published last year that talked, again, it was republishing a study. And what did the study say? Just like it says in the Paleo Cardiologist, that patients that were treated with medication had the same, if not better outcomes than those that were treated with stents, with a few exceptions. And the exceptions are listed right in here. But mostly stents are for symptoms similar to bypass surgery. The one time that bypass surgery is definitely needed is for when there's an issue with the left main artery. And again, they'll go into why or how. But if you remember earlier talking about blocked arteries are not necessarily the highest risk for a heart attack. It's partially blocked arteries that have pieces of the plaque break off. Now, if you do make these lifestyle changes that we talked about, one of the things that's so cool is, for instance, increasing your HDL, a good, healthy HDL number. HDL is linked to actually decreasing plaque in the arteries so it can smooth out the blood vessels. So by making lifestyle changes consistent over time, you could actually stop or reverse plaquing in your arteries. Now, that's not my research. Again, that's what these things show. So if you were surprised by the text that you received to watch this video where it says, learn natural ways to reverse or prevent heart disease, that's how it happens. It happens by your body healing itself by giving it the right things to do so. There are times that surgery is always needed. So again, I think we live in a country that has the most advanced medical system possible, and there are some really cool things that we can do. There are times when surgery is always needed. Very tight heart valves and very leaky valves always need surgery. Unfortunately, a lot of times surgeries are almost a business. Drugs can be a business. I think most of you probably feel that drug companies sometimes don't have your best interest at heart. Hospitals get paid based on the number of surgeries they do. So while I'm not saying there's any medical professional that's trying to overtreat you, you have to realize that drug companies or they're in charge of education. So there are certain things where you have to question the source or the cause of it and the validity of really how important is this for people or for your family. From a drug rehab research study actually showed, for instance, that people are prescribed half as many medications if they have somebody in the doctor's office with them advocating advocating for them, meaning that, people that are, for instance, addicted to opiates or that sort of thing would have actually been less likely to be prescribed as many drugs if they were in there with another person along with their doctor. Now, again, that's all research, but you really want to consider, how can I help my body heal? What can I do to fix the root cause of this? As far as next steps, so until further notice, we will be doing everything online. I hope that you found this to be interesting. The reason why we're doing 10 minutes a day is because this book is so dense. It takes me 10 minutes to go through anywhere from 5 to 10 pages of the book, and we just tried to do the entire book in under an hour. So I really hope you take time to read the book. I hope you view the things. The way to do that is to go to Chiropractic First of Rockford on Facebook or YouTube and watch the different segments. We can send you links if you post in the comments. If you'd like a book and you're a current client, please post. The Mountain Program, our next seminar will be in 8 days, and it is our Mountain Program, Metabolics, Toxicity, Nutrition. We're going to have a specific focus on lowering both diabetes and heart disease risk factors. So if you have high blood sugars, if you have insulin resistance, if you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high C-reactive protein, we're specifically putting protocols together designed to help your body heal itself. But to do that, you'll need to watch the Mountain seminar on how to, and then you can sign up to do the testing either currently or after these different COVID-19 regulations are lifted. But again, Mountain Program, 8 days from now. If you'd like the direct link sent you, please post in the comments. And again, please share with your friends. Last thing is, as you're posting, I want to give you a couple minutes before I end the broadcast here. Remember, supplementation is secondary only to diet. Diet or lifestyle should come first. But like I mentioned earlier, vitamin D is an antiviral, anti-inflammatory. It shows that it helps with everything from hormone production, like it helps your body produce more serotonin or testosterone, but it also helps fight viruses and bacteria. It's shown to lower blood pressure or lower heart disease risk. One study slide that I show in many of the seminars that we do shows that a healthy vitamin D level, so a vitamin D over 60, can reduce your risk of at least 12 different cancers by 50% or more, can lower your risk of turning on the genetic marker for type 1 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, all this different stuff. There are so many benefits to having a healthy vitamin load. But if I was going to state in order, before you buy individual supplements, I would take a multivitamin first, vitamin D. If you don't eat enough fish, you should take an omega-3. Those are the basics. Then do things like detox. Then do things like GI. Then do things like sleep and mood. And again, you can auto ship those if you go to our website at rockford.maxliving.com. Hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to ask any questions on here, and I will respond directly following. Have a blessed day.